Okay, don't get lost. We're in the 40 something here for this year. And of course, we have over 100, or we have 100 and, ooh, I forgot the number there, for beauty. That's how important beauty is. Beauty is huge in your Bible and it's ginormous. And especially when we talk about inner beauty. Because a lot of you don't understand this, and I'm not going to go into that today, but outer beauty only comes from inner beauty. And don't you get yourself confused into thinking that outer beauty comes from nowhere. One of the main messages, ideas we had last year was that the only reason you see outer beauty is because somebody has inner beauty. That is extremely significant in your Bible. The Master doesn't mention it that much, but in the Old Testament, you get a little more. That the Master is giving you life-saving words primarily in actualization and humiliation training. Most of what we do here is training in humiliation. That's what we do here most of the time. That's what the Master focuses on most of the time, and that's what he wants me to focus on most of the time, because I'm going verbatim. I've had people tell me that I am not teaching verbatim and I'm not really dealing with the body of the letter. And that is absolutely incorrect. A lot of people have been taught the Bible from a perspective that is not what the Bible teaches. Therefore, they don't think that you are teaching the proper way. If I tell you that most of the commandments of Jesus Christ in red letters are humiliation and indoctrination, and you tell me that I don't like it, then you just threw away the body of the commandments. You just threw away basically what's going on. And that can't be good for you. When you're responsible for hearing something, it's not necessarily something you can discard. Now, if I read you The Island of the Blue Dolphin and I ask you what happened in the story, if you get a D on the summary of the story, it may not be that big of a deal. But if I give you a lesson on how to cross the street and you flunk that lesson, that can cost you big. Because not crossing the street properly can be very significant. The same applies to this Bible here. If you miss humiliation and indoctrination, you missed the entire body and the core principles that the Master is teaching. And it's obvious that the Master wants me to do the same thing. Now when I spent quite a few hours with the beauty lesson, I did not just focus on beauty. What I did was I chose scriptures to show you how beauty comes from purity. Very important. That darkness comes from lies. People think that they can live in lies, that they can be mean people, hurt people, and they're going to enjoy beauty forever. That's not the case. They're going to lose beauty. Beauty's going to say bye-bye. When the Master says that people are going to be tossed into outer darkness, you need to see. The Master leaves things for you to think about. And I always wondered about that, because that's the way my Earth Father used to talk. Earth Daddy used to talk the same way. He would always try to prompt you to think for yourself. He's not going to give you every answer, because the world is not going to give you every answer. You're going to have to do some thinking. You know, no one, when you go to college, no one's going to tutor you free of charge for every class you take. and make sure that you get an A and follow you around. That's not going to happen. Now, God will do that. I don't want to leave Father out of the mix for those of you going into college and so forth. What I want to mention, though, is that you need to start learning how to concentrate on things and use your head in general. And one of the best examples is when the Master says, cast them out into outer darkness. Okay, now he says it, and it's awfully quick, right? He doesn't explain what the darkness is. Now, most people would say, I'm going to throw you into outer darkness, which is like this over there. But that's not the way God communicates a lot. He gets to the point and he leaves you alone. It's the same way my dad was. He didn't want to talk too much and explain too much. He left it up to you that you're going to be responsible for thinking. And we need to cultivate a way of thinking whereby that when we see things and we live in our lives, that we practice thinking. That's what we have to do. Okay? And that's a good example there where the Master says, cast them into outer darkness. Or they're going to go into outer darkness. And what is the immediate meaning of all of that? Well, the immediate meaning is that there's no more light for you. If there's no more light, there's no more color. If there's no more color, there's no more design. If there's no more design, color, and light, then there's no more beauty, period. Okay, you got that? That was one of the main things I wanted to get across to you. And now I'm giving you another reference that I didn't use to last year's theme, which is the Master is going to put people into outer darkness who are basically what he's saying is they're selfish, they're greedy, and mean people. That's what he's saying. To put it in a nutshell. I'm not going to go through the scriptures right now. The guy who went over to Sister So-and-so's house and helped her and did this and did love deeds, and Paul calls them love labors, which are another word for yoke fellow. If you did those activities and you got off your can and loved the people, which your heart's going to motivate you, the Lord's going to give you the energy and the guidance, and you allowed that work to happen. Who is it? Open your bowels of compassion. You have to open up the availability of your schedule so that you get active in love duties. Now, it's supposed to flow naturally and so forth, but I'm articulating how it happens. I'm not telling you to force you to do anything. You understand that? I had a bishop here, not too long, a Bible teacher here the other day. I think he's assistant pastor, whatever. And he was trying to say that we don't need to cultivate and push each other. And that's nonsense. Utter nonsense. Just because God is invigorating you, he's the force in you, and he's telling you where to go, doesn't mean that we can't push each other. That's nonsense. We should push each other. But I don't mean push each other physically or aggressively. But we should tell each other, hey, let's get going. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with, hey, let's go. What's wrong? I don't see anything wrong with that. And I think people are getting so sensitive. You know, all these men are acting like little girlies or something. I don't know how to put it, but you know, don't tell me I should work harder. You know, I'm working hard. You hurt my feelings. You know, don't tell me I should go to Bible study. I'll go when the Lord leads me, and all this kind of stuff. This is nonsense. I clean the restrooms in the church I didn't do a very good job, but I don't want to do a better job. I'm saved by grace. I don't have to clean the bathrooms very good. All this stuff is just, it's nonsense. You have the ability and the responsibility to push the brethren, especially on specific items. We were having fellowship here the other day, and one of the brethren put on a rock and roll that had some kind of demonic stuff. I said, listen, bro, turn that off now. I mean, like now. You're going to give me the sensitive, I'm saved by grace routine. I'm going to give you the routine. I'm stepping out of here. We all need a screen, and we all need to be adamant about it. And I don't mean pushy, and I don't mean rude. That's no. And some people interpret it that way. They go, "You're being rude because you're telling me to do the right thing." No, I'm not being rude by telling you to do the right thing. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and I'm trying to help you. How do you like that? Don't put no wild rock and roll stuff, especially when I'm having fellowship, and we're supposed to be having fellowship. Since that COVID came, which is the fourth seal that the Lord breaks open, that's obviously the fourth seal of the apocalypse. Well, here's the point. Here he is. We should be getting the Bible out with some worship music on. So I say, hey, get the worship music on, dude. What are you doing? You think I'm a clown here, bro? Come on. You want to listen to that stuff by yourself every now and then? I don't see that necessarily wrong with it. But when you start getting with the brethren playing that garbage, then that's really bad. You shouldn't listen to it, period. I don't even listen to jazz that much. I was raised on jazz and soul music and, and soft rock and roll and classical music and Johann Sebastian Bach. I was raised on that stuff. I had college dormitory roommates who listened to Chicago, and I remember all that music. But I don't really have that much time for it because all we do is all day long is sing about loving Jesus all day long. Now I might put in a secular song. As a matter of fact, we were singing. I was singing some jazz music this morning that I used to listen to when I was younger. But I had to shut it down because we got church work to do. It's not as though you can't do this and you can't do that. It's just that there's an appropriate time for it. And especially when you're hanging around the brethren, you want to put on worship music just 99% of the time. That's common sense. Okay? Now that I've gone on my teaching rampage here, let's get to what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about Babylonian entertainment and how to deal with it. I want to talk about how some of you out there, here, let me give you the verdict before we have our court case, before we have our adjudication. Let me get my lesson ready here. Hold on, pardon me. Okay, I have a lesson today I'm going to throw in the middle of nowhere, kind of, where I'm going to talk about entertainment for you out there, for some of you. And how this is how the enemy works. Now, the enemy cannot work in Protestant, Quaker, Amish people the way he can with evangelicals. And let me explain why. A lot of people who go to most of the churches in America today, it's amazing grace, and that's all they basically know. A lot of that, and they know a little bit more, but that's about it. And this is what's known as danger. Like that dinosaur movie I saw, where the T-Rex alarm went off. Listen, when you get into this zone of I don't know where I'm studying, I don't know what I'm teaching, I don't know what I'm, which is basically what evangelical world is right now. It's the maybe zone. It's essentially Babylon. It doesn't mean that everybody in Babylon is Babylon. There's Daniel, there's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, there's Nehemiah. There's a lot of people who are in Babylon and Persia who are on the narrow brick road. A lot of people in America are on the narrow brick road, who are in evangelical circles. However, living here in Indiana, you can see that there's a line of demarcation between the people who are maybe Christians and saved and those who are serious about being saved. A chicken can figure that out. I've had roosters who can figure out what I just told you. I'm joking because it's that simple. If someone goes to Starbucks and they're dressed properly, they might be a Quaker, a real Christian. If someone goes in there and they're not dressed properly, they're not covering themselves, etc., then that person is having some problems with the narrow brick road. That's the point. If it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it probably is a duck. Don't argue with it. That goes for science too. I'm going to get into a little science today. When I was young, I used to look at the stars and I said, those stars look awfully close to me. Now, my science teacher told me that they're light years away. And in my mind, I was thinking, what I see doesn't match what I'm told. And guess what? I was right. The science teacher was wrong. He was lying. Whether or not he knew he was lying is not the point. It's a lie. Some people lie, they don't know they're lying. As the master said so wonderfully, we can always go to the master in these red letters 90% of the time around here. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Because they are abusing an innocent, loving, caring God who hasn't done anything to anybody. And yet he's being punished horribly. And of course, this is one of the reasons why we spend so much time talking about the love of Jesus. We can't get away from it. We don't want to get away from it. Now, Babylonian entertainment. Jeremiah, why are you getting into Babylonian entertainment? Because the verdict is in. You basically don't need any entertainment that's out there in Babylon, which is America and the world. Probably the smartest people are these Mennonites around the corner here. They have basically no television and no computers, etc. And the children's computers are all set on academics alone. This can be one of the most extremely significant practices that any family or person can do. It personifies the word discipline. It verifies the word discipline. Prosperity is in the corner of the disciplined ones. And I'm using the word prosperity in a broad sense. Very similar to the word blessed. Now, the verdict is in on this Babylonian entertainment in America, which is, the best verdict is, just leave it alone. Can you enjoy some of this? Yes, you can, but it's dangerous. You need intelligence and wisdom and knowledge in order to screen these modern entertainment avenues. Some people will survive years of this stimuli and they're going to come out okay. But a lot of people are going to be damaged permanently from the exposure to these lies, this violence, this malice, this pernicious subject matter. They're not going to recover. Not everyone recovers from the world. Look at a lot of homeless people. The world has basically beat them down, and a lot of them are not going to recover. Instead of going to church and devoting themselves to serving the Lord, these homeless people, and even people who have homes, they are lost. You can live in a home and be homeless. You can be homeless and have a home. The world's more complicated than what you might think it is. Just as, let me insert this before we get into it. Let's talk about the word prosperity for a minute. When you look at the examples the Master has in the book of Revelation, chapters 2 and 3, and we'll let those go for a moment. Let's just look at the word prosperity. I had a relative ask me here the other day, what compensation are you receiving for this activity? Now, I've gotten this question a number of times. We had to help the elderly ministry in Orange County with one or two people that were helping. There was a nurse, and there was somebody blocking the door of one of the elderly. And it was a person who was on drugs, and they had animals everywhere, and it was just a mess. They weren't cleaning up after the animals, and you had to walk through this individual and his domain in order to get to the elderly person. And these are the things you have to deal with when you become a servant and when you put a servant mind on. The word denial comes into play. The word persecution, the word pain, the word difficulty, the word frustration, they all come into play when the word servant comes into play. When the Master uses the word servant, he's referencing all the words I just gave you. The word is not isolated. It is part and parcel telling you the components that I just lined up for you. This ministry uses those words quite a bit because that is the bulk of living bread. Over and over and over again. That is what the main core of sound doctrine is. Now, the verdict is in, and let me explain to you why I have this verdict in general. Now, when you let something slip through the cracks, we're talking to Protestants now. The Protestant perspective on Babylonian entertainment, movies, books, and even declarations of facts in science and school is that Babylon represents the devil and the media, politicians, aristocracy, schools, and it doesn't break through the barriers of a seasoned Protestant. The families I see over here at the library who are Mennonite families, you're not going to get through the child anything that the secular child is going to believe in. Because the child is learning to put a screen up with wisdom through the parents. That's why it's incumbent upon you to, as an American citizen, to follow the footsteps of Mr. William Penn and have Bible study with your children and your family and your friends so that nobody gets tripped up. One of the best ways to avoid getting fooled and getting ruined and facing demise is to have Bible study. And to put those scriptures and those ideas and those rules and that discipline in your head. Now, let's get back to what I have here. Declarations of facts, which are called science, most of it in the United States right now is Babylon. It doesn't mean everything that they teach you in biology is wrong at all. A lot of things they teach you in biology are true. But a lot of it is not true. When you're raised by Protestant parents who give you some knowledge and so forth, you go in those classrooms. In other words, I can go to a secular university and there won't be any problems. I will not buy into lies. Lies are what gives you confusion. They remove your rest and your peace that you own, and they frustrate your relationship with God because God can't stand lies. So the thing is that you lose all the way around. However, I went to university, and I went to a couple of colleges, and when I went to them, I had a Sharpie in my hand. I knew how to cut through everything that they told me, and I was able to handle, manipulate, order, reorder everything they said, essentially. So it's no problem for me. I had a couple of courses where I laughed in the class because they were just clowning too much. And I was like, ah, come on, dude. You know what? Hey, settle down, settle down. I don't care how many of you, how many Frenchmen can't be wrong here. Consensus doesn't make reality. How many Frenchmen can't be wrong? If the whole class flunks, doesn't mean I have to flunk. If the whole class believes the lie you just said, I don't have to believe it. And I handled myself, I think, fairly well. I'm not saying I handled myself perfect. I'm just saying when I went through a couple of colleges here, secular colleges, I didn't have too much of a problem at all. With entire classrooms attacking me and what I believed in, and so forth. I was like, okay, is class over? I want to get some soda. I want to get some chips and some Diet Coke. Is class over? I've got this class wired anyway. I already know almost everything that's in this book, and I'm going to probably get an A in this class, so you know what? You guys can talk or, say this and say that. Okay, I'm fine and dandy as cotton candy at the circus. Everything is fine here. And don't try to say that you have more wisdom or knowledge than I do, because you may have more wisdom and knowledge pertaining to this subject, but at a moment's notice, I could know more than you about it, because guess who my daddy is? He's like Mr. Know-it-all. So if I ask Father to let me know what the bottom line of what you're talking about, snap, crackle, pop. So you're the loser here, but I don't want you to lose. I want you to learn how to be a caring person, you fellow student, teacher, and I want you to learn the truth. And as far as me getting a bad grade or somebody attacking me because of my stance, I don't care. I don't care if I get a worse grade. I'm sure that happened to me a number of times in college, because I declared that I believe in the sound doctrine of Protestantism, but it didn't bother me because I was well seasoned, well trained. I've been to church a lot. I rub elbows with the world. And so I'm ready to go. I'm Superman. Whatever you say, it's bouncing off my chest. Have a happy day. I want some chips right now. I'm a little hungry. You being confused doesn't get in the way of me enjoying my soda pop. I wish I could help you, and I do want to help you, but you're not going to get in the way of my life going along and smooth as ice. And that's the way I was in college in a lot of classes. And I'm giving this warning out to some of you that all of this Babylonian science stuff, if you're ready to go. You can go help people. You're probably better off going to a seminary or something like that. But God uses people everywhere. And you're not a failure if someone gives you a failing grade in a class when you went to college because you didn't agree with a lie. You're a winner. Now you may fail in their eyes, but not in Daddy's eyes. And those are the eyes that you're supposed to be looking at. That's the whole point. Not the teacher, not the students. I respect the teacher, I respect the students, but Daddy comes first. My heart belongs to Dada. You're not going to get me off of Daddy. That's Father is very smart, and you're not in his category. So you can flap your jaws and talk all you want, but what's the bottom line? The bottom line is that Daddy's much smarter than you, and in many ways, I'm much smarter than you. Although I may not know a lot of the criteria and data that's in this classroom, don't mess with Bill, that famous song, in America. I don't want to reference secular songs, but don't mess with Bill. It was like, don't mess with Jeremiah. You're better off putting your attention somewhere else, because I'm probably going to make you look bad in the long run. You were better off listening and not being aggressive on issues that you don't fully understand. Okay? So that gets into science here, that Babylon presents things in the media and schools, politicians, aristocracy, whatever, and that is not science. But the Protestant perspective on Babylonian stuff, and I'm going to focus on entertainment in a minute, but our focus today is on entertainment, which has a lot of what? Science, politicians, school books. That's what's on TV. That's what's in the movie. They'll cite this. The moon is a million miles away. And stars are far away and they're on fire. And and the Earth is moving 400 yards a second. And we all over the place with all the so-called entertainment, you might call it. I'll be right back. I'm going to give you case in point. I think I'm going to look at that movie Wonka, and I'm going to show you how you screen things for you who are parents and so forth who want to, or your brothers and sisters, if you want to watch some of these movies, you need to really use your head. I'm going to show you how I would do things and how I viewed a movie that I just reviewed. Okay? I'll be right back. Maranatha.